fields of 16th century England, a game was born that would one day capture the hearts of billions, a game of bat and ball, of strategy and spirit, where empires would clash and legends would rise. This is the story of cricket, a sport woven into the fabric of history, evolving from rustic pastime to global phenomenon. Part 1. The origins of cricket are shrouded in the mists of time. Like an ancient tale whispered through generations, some trace its roots to the Saxon or Norman eras, where children in southeastern England played a rudimentary game called Krieg, striking a ball with a stick. By the 1500s, records mention a game resembling cricket in Kent, played by shepherds and farmers on cleared patches of land. The word cricket may have come from the Old French crique, meaning a wooden post, or the Dutch crick, referring to a stool used as a target. These early games were informal, with no fixed rules. Players made up boundaries, overs, and wickets as they went. By the 17th century, cricket began appearing in written records. In 1611, 2 Sussex men were fined for playing cricket on a Sunday, breaking Sabbath laws. A sign the game was already popular enough to cause a stir. It was a village affair, played on commons with uneven pitches, where a curved bat met a hand-stitched leather ball, and bets were as common as cheers. As England's rural life gave way to urban growth, cricket found a foothold among the gentry. By the late 1600s, aristocrats were forming teams, and matches were played for high stakes. The game's first patrons, like the Duke of Richmond, sponsored contests, laying the groundwork for organized play. The 1700s saw cricket spread across counties like Kent, Sussex, and Hampshire, with village greens transforming into makeshift arenas. The Hambledon Club in Hampshire, formed around 1760, became the game's spiritual home. Known as the cradle of cricket, Hambledon's players, like John Small and Richard Nearan, refined batting and bowling techniques. They played on Broad Albany Down, where sheep grazed the outfield, and spectators wagered fortunes. The club's influence led to the codification of rules, with the first written laws of cricket emerging in 1744, standardizing pitch length, 22 yards, still used today, and the size of the wicket. Part 2. The 18th century was cricket's adolescence, a time of growth and rebellion. The game moved from rural pastures to London's emerging grounds, like the Artillery Ground, where crowds swelled, and gambling-fueled rivalries. Matches between counties became spectacles, drawing thousands. In 1787, the Marylebone Cricket Club, MCC, was founded at Lord's, a ground that would become cricket's hallowed temple. The MCC took charge of the game's rules, formalizing everything from the weight of the ball, 5.5 ounces, to the number of stumps, 3. By 1775, this era birthed legends like Thomas Lord, who lent his name to the iconic ground, and players like William Beldam, whose elegant batting captivated crowds. Cricket's evolution mirrored England's social changes. The Industrial Revolution brought wealth and leisure, allowing the upper classes to patronize the game while the working class played in their rare free hours. By the early 1800s, round-arm bowling emerged, replacing underarm deliveries. Pioneered by players like John Wiles, it added speed and deception, though purists resisted, calling it unfair. The MCC legalized round-arm bowling in 1835, a turning point that made the game faster and more competitive. Meanwhile, cricket spread beyond England's shores. British sailors and traders carried it to colonies, from the Caribbean to India, where locals embraced it with fervor. In 1844, the first international match took place in New York between the USA and Canada, a quirky footnote in cricket's global journey. The mid-19th century saw cricket professionalize. County clubs like Surrey and Yorkshire formed, and players like William Lillywhite, the nonpareil bowler, became household names. The first recorded professional match occurred in 1819, but by the 1850s, professionals were paid to play, though often treated as second-class citizens compared to amateur gentlemen. The class divide was stark. Amateurs entered grounds through separate gates, a symbol of cricket's rigid social hierarchy. Yet, the game's appeal crossed divides, uniting spectators in shared passion. Part 3. The 1860s marked cricket's golden age in England, but also its global ascent. In 1861, an English team toured Australia, playing the first overseas tour. The matches, often against odds. 22 Australians versus 11 Englishmen, drew massive crowds. Australia's love affair with cricket began, setting the stage for the fiercest rivalry in sport. In 1877, the first Test match was played in Melbourne between England and Australia, a term coined to signify the ultimate contest. The game ended in a thrilling Australian victory by 45 runs, igniting national pride. 5 years later, in 1882, Australia's win at the Oval sparked the legend of the Ashes. A mock obituary in the Sporting Times declared English cricket dead, with its ashes taken to Australia. The term stuck, and a tiny terracotta urn became the sport's most coveted prize. Cricket's spread wasn't limited to Australia. In India, the Parsi community took up the game in the 1840s, forming clubs like the Oriental Cricket Club. By 1886, they toured England, a bold step for colonized people. In the West Indies, cricket became a cultural force, blending African, European, and local traditions. South Africa, New Zealand, and later Pakistan embraced the game, each adding unique flavors. The late 19th century also saw technological leaps. Over-arm bowling, legalized in 1864, revolutionized play, enabling swing and seam. Grounds improved, with rollers flattening pitches, and equipment standardized. The bats became straighter, pads and gloves more protective. The era's giant was W.G. Grace, a bearded colossus whose batting dominated from the 1860s to the 1890s. Grace, a doctor by trade, was cricket's first superstar, scoring runs with unmatched flair. His larger-than-life persona drew crowds and elevated the game's status. Yet, cricket wasn't just about heroes. It reflected empire's complexity as colonized nations used it to challenge British dominance, forging identities through bat and ball. Part 4. The 20th century saw cricket grapple with modernity. The county championship, formalised in 1890, became England's premier domestic competition, while Australia's Sheffield Shield, started